So the next point that got brought up was kind of bridged in that the agrarian diet is the problem here, you know, factory farming, and you talk about that in the form of processed food, but it wasn't really defined, but it was saying that it's just the agrarian diet is too much sugar. And even complex carbohydrates at the end of the day will break it down to sugar. So the starches and grains break down very quickly, was mentioned, and the insulin response, it was very kind of a long range here. And then it got to a point where it says your brain can only handle a very small range of blood glucose. Can you respond to that?
Well, science says that your brain can only burn glucose as fuel. Now there's some information that you could use some ketones. That's very, very questionable. But you really, to be truthful, one of the main problems with humans is that they don't realize that a biological efficient human body doesn't need really need a lot of anything. So as long as you're getting enough, and what my experience has been that over the last 45, 50 years, as years went on, I found out that I had to eat less food, and when I did that, I had more energy on less calories. So to say you have to get enough calories, you hear people say, oh, you got to make up your caloric intake by eating a lot of this or eating a lot of that. Well, that's because they're not letting their body go through this process. And it's not for everybody to go through that process. So we have to realize that when you start to eat a real good diet, and you consistently leave out the things that should be left out, all the processed foods, and eat a plant-based diet and a moderate amount of the other foods based on your choice, your body will evolve, and it doesn't happen overnight, become more biologically efficient. And as that time takes place, when you reach that certain point where your upper and your lower GI tract are working efficiently, and that is important because your upper GI tract is like a second brain. It's so important and people just don't realize it. Then you're going to find out you're not going to have the cravings that people have. They're still intoxicated from all this endogenous material they never got rid of. Then they're going to find out they don't have those kind of cravings and they don't need all those foods. And they find out they don't get infections because they're not creating the endogenous waste that bacteria need to proliferate because of their excesses out of fear, anxiety, and confusing information that people are feeding us. So sometimes people think they're not getting enough and they start to feel tired, they start to get a rash. What they really need to skip eating a couple days and undo some of the overeating they've done, like eating late at night and snacking in between meals and eating 6 meals a day. That's part of the problem today.